Have you ever looked into someone's eyes and felt an impossible distance between you? That, even though you can touch their skin, hear their voice, and feel their breath, something within them will always remain foreign to you. No matter how close you get, the other remains an enigma, an abyss you will never cross. You can share moments, emotions, words, even an entire life, but there will always be something that escapes you, something that remains inaccessible, as if an invisible, insurmountable boundary exists between their world and yours. Jean-Paul Sartre said, "Hell is other people." And he wasn't just referring to coexistence, but to that feeling of being imprisoned under the gaze of another. The moment someone observes us, we become an object to them, something defined from the outside. We lose control over who we are because our essence is no longer in our hands, but in the eyes of those who judge, analyze, and label us. We become a reduced, fragmented, and foreign version of ourselves. In every gaze that passes over us, there is an interpretation that does not belong to us, yet it still defines us. But there is another side to the problem. Just as we are prisoners of the gaze of others, we also imprison them. We convince ourselves that we know them, that we understand who they are, but in reality, what we see is not the person, but our version of them, a distorted reflection shaped by our expectations, fears, and desires. We cling to labels, memories, and small signals that we interpret as we see fit. We create characters in our minds and force people to fit into them. And when they don't, we feel betrayed, confused, unable to understand how someone could be different from what we expected. Emmanuel Levinas argued that the other is an inexhaustible mystery, a face that challenges us and confronts us with its irreducible existence. We cannot possess them, nor can we fully comprehend them, because the other is not an object of our thoughts, but a presence that overwhelms us. They are a radical alterity, unreachable, impossible to fit into our mental frameworks. And yet, we spend our lives trying to reduce others to categories, words, and fixed concepts that make us feel like we understand them. We try to give them a place in our world, to make them predictable, manageable, safe. Martin Heidegger, on the other hand, spoke of being with others as a fundamental part of our existence. We do not exist in isolation, but in a shared world, where others are not simply obstacles or mirrors of our identity, but companions in the construction of meaning. However, in that coexistence, there is also a constant tension between authenticity and inauthenticity. Many times, we lose ourselves in otherness. We adopt the values, expectations, and discourses of others without questioning them. We become impersonal beings, part of the masses, living lives dictated by structures we did not choose but inherited without resistance. Albert Camus, in The Stranger, presents another facet of this insurmountable distance between human beings. Meursault, his protagonist, is a man indifferent to society, unable to fit into the emotional codes expected of him. He does not cry at his mother's funeral, nor does he react as he is supposed to. And because of this, the world judges and condemns him. Here, another unsettling truth is revealed. Not only is the other a mystery to us, but we are also a mystery to them. There is a mutual impossibility of understanding, a continuous mismatch between who we are and what others expect of us. We struggle to align our essence with the projections imposed upon us, but there is always a fissure, a distance that makes us strangers in the eyes of those who think they know us. We relate to shadows, not people. We see what we want to see, what is comfortable for us, what fits into our narrative. When someone disappoints us, it is not because they have changed, but because we never truly knew them. There was only an ideal in our minds, and that ideal has been shattered. Disappointment, then, is nothing more than the collapse of a fiction we created ourselves. And yet, we continue the same cycle, projecting new images, new ideas, new illusions onto those around us. We desperately seek an impossible certainty because admitting that we will never truly know the other fills us with vertigo. Even literature has explored this impossibility of absolute knowledge of the other. In The Dead by James Joyce, Gabriel Conroy discovers that his wife, Greta, carries in her memory a past love he will never be able to equal. No matter how much of their lives they have shared, there are parts of her inner world that remain inaccessible to him. This story shows us that the other is, ultimately, a territory we will never fully enter. We can share a life with someone, but we will never possess their entirety, because the inner world of another is an unreachable universe, a mystery we can only brush against. So, is it possible to truly know another person? Can we ever cross that invisible barrier that separates us? Perhaps the most honest answer is to accept that we cannot, that the other will always be an enigma, a separate universe, a reflection we will never be able to touch. But maybe, within that impossibility, in that distance, there is also a kind of beauty. Not fully knowing the other means there is always something left to discover, something to surprise us, something that reminds us that existence is an endless mystery. If the other were completely accessible, completely transparent, they would become predictable, inert, devoid of magic. Perhaps the problem of the other is not a problem at all, but rather the essence of what it means to be alive, to be eternal strangers searching for a connection that never fully arrives. And in that endless search, in that fleeting touch between two solitudes, we find something close to understanding, the recognition that, despite the distance, we keep trying. We keep looking at each other, even though we can never truly see. We keep reaching out, even though something will always slip away. And perhaps, in that effort, in that very impossibility, lies the proof that we are human. If you have ever felt that insurmountable distance between yourself and others, tell me in the comments how you have experienced it. Do you think it is possible to truly know someone? Or are we doomed to remain eternal strangers? Share your perspective, subscribe if you want to keep exploring these ideas, and help me grow this space for reflection.